A few videos ago, I teased y'all about a story where I accidentally influenced the coin market with a purchase I made. Today I'm going to tell you that story along with one other. These stories will help you to think about the market on coins that just don't sell very often, whether they're rare or just uncommon. So a lot of people don't realize when you have something that's truly rare, when you're talking over six figures, you really narrow down who's willing to buy it just by price alone. But today I'm going to tell you all the story about Trip. But I'm calling him Trip because Trip tripped into the lie of the price guide. Although I never saw it, Tripp claimed that he had a very expensive coin, of which there are not many out there. Now, I would have loved to have seen it, and I told him I would gladly help him authenticate it, but Tripp decided not to bring it back into the shop. Tripp had another coin dealer tell him that he thought it was real. Really, for that rarity until PCGS has seen it, it's fake in my mind. But in the midst of talking to me, he kind of threw out the idea of seeing what we would offer on it. And not having seen it, what can I say? I don't even know if it's real at this point. I don't know what condition it's in. And it's one of those coins that's so rare. It's a coin that price guides will tell you is a $250,000 coin. And Tripp didn't just believe that, he took it as gospel truth. Now, depending on where it graded, it could have been a $250,000 coin. I didn't actually see it, but from his description of the coin, it sure didn't sound like it was going to grade where he thought it would. And when you get that many zeros behind a coin, a small percentage difference is significant. This is a coin that does pull some pretty strong numbers, but they don't always pull that price guide. Sometimes it's beat the price guide, but sometimes it's fallen far short of it. I mean, when you're talking about a coin where a bad day could be like my whole salary, even if they sometimes do over price guide numbers are just out of the question. So I asked Tripp what he wanted to get out of it, and he said he wanted $250,000 for it.
No. Not only no, but hell no.
It's not going to happen. As a dealer, I can't pay him full buck retail, especially not price guide retail, because I wouldn't make any money. I would actually lose money in the amount of time I spend on it, and that's if I don't get stuck with a coin I can't sell that's worth like ridiculous amounts of other inventory. So I told him, first of all, you need to get it graded. Well, there's a difficulty with that. It costs a lot of money to grade one of those coins. PCGS is going to want 1% of the coin's value on top of a really steep grading fee because they're taking on a lot of liability. I mean, they're basically keeping up with a $250,000 coin by their records. So PCGS takes their cut, and those who don't agree with it, I don't think understand business. And Tripp was definitely one of those people, and he ranted and raved about how much money they were going to take from him for grading his $250,000 coin. But anyway, the guy didn't have the like $3,000 needed to grade a $250,000 coin. So I told Tripp about another option that would actually make it where he didn't have to pay to grade it at all. And that's to contact somebody like Heritage Auctions. You see, they have connections with those grading services where they can get discounted grading fees. So if you have a really rare coin that you want to sell, but you don't want to pay for the grading service up front, you can send it to Heritage and they will get it slabbed for you, and you'll pay them on the back end out of the profits you make. Now, if it doesn't sell for as much as you thought it would, you might owe them money, which is another story. The time I paid Great Collections 15 cents to sell one of my coins. Or in this case, if the coin ended up not being real, any rare coin can be faked, and sometimes they're faked very well. I tell them about that option. You can send it to auction, grade it for you. On the back end, you'll end up having whatever the difference is between the hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars and the grading fees. But Tripp wouldn't have it. He'd had a bad experience with an auction one time, so he's never going to send anything to auction again. Tripp didn't like that answer because Tripp wants $250,000. The coin's worth $250,000, so that's what he wants to get out of it. And no matter how long I spent trying to explain to him, it's not worth $250,000, that's the book price of it, he couldn't grasp that. It was a $250,000 coin. He didn't want to take a penny less. So he asked me, how do you sell it? And I told him flat out, the only way you sell a coin like that is you know the millionaire who wants to buy that coin for $250,000 ungraded, because obviously he's not going to get it graded ahead of time. I don't know, put your money where your mouth is. You take out a loan, you send it to grading, and you pay off the loan with the profits and just live with the loan if you're wrong. Let me just clarify, he didn't pay anything for this coin. He obtained it without having to pay for it legally. So I'm really trying to make this ambiguous in case he ever sees this video and gets pissed, because he was very clear he didn't want anybody to know he had it. He's never going to see a dime of that money. The moral of this story is life is risky. You might send a coin to auction and it underperforms. If you've got something that you have no money in and it could make you literally a retirement account overnight, but you're afraid of getting the potatoes because it might not come with the gravy on top, there's nothing anybody can do for you. Alright, now for my story. I've been looking for a particular coin for a while. In the 1850s, there was a Mobile Jockey Club right here in Mobile, Alabama. Well, across the bay in Mobile, Alabama. And they made tokens that are Mobile Jockey Club tokens. There's over a dozen varieties of them. But most of them have a horse. It says read Mobile Jockey Club. And, people have actually done research and found that it was a real jockey club. It wasn't just some gimmicky token. I'll just sum it up as there's a lot of them and they all do different numbers, but there are a couple of them that are really scarce. Well, there were some that weren't so scarce that were sitting on eBay for quite a while. And they were sitting there at like 600, 650 range, which was just asinine because these had sold as recently as 2 years prior consistently in a $200 to $250 range. And even looking back, you could see a historical trend where it went from like $75 to $100, and it moved up to that $200 range just a couple of years ago. People will say they're rare, but they're really not that rare. But I had been waiting for one to come to auction for a while, and they didn't. They just weren't showing up like they used to. And the only ones out there were the ones for buy it now on eBay for a lot of money. So I wanted to buy somebody a nice gift. I found one of the ones that was lower priced. I went on WorthPoint and found where that exact same coin had been purchased by him a few years prior for $250. I knew I wasn't going to get him down anywhere near those prices with his $600 pricing. So I made an offer at $400. That's right, I overpaid by at least $100. Because even with the market moving up, 300 was probably like top dollar. And the seller took it. So I get the token and I'm ecstatic. It's not a great example, but it's a nice enough one. And hey, I actually got one. So I was that guy who was willing to hit the buy it now button knowing it was overpriced. When I did my price checking then, and even when I looked at WorthPoint now, somehow I was missing a sale that happened just prior to mine where somebody really paid up for one. And they paid over $550 for a really nice looking example, but it was still a common Mobile Jockey Club and uncirculated. A month or two later, when one did come to auction finally, I thought I can dollar cost average my purchase. I can get this one at a cheaper price, keep it for myself. That way I gave one to my friend and I have one as well.
What makes you think that?
But no, they saw my $400 sale price on a common Mobile Jockey Club. Sure enough, that one outperformed my purchase by, I think, like $10. I'm thinking, okay, this was a well-known token dealer who sold this one on eBay. He just has a cult following. Obviously, this was just another high-flying example. But no. The next one that came to auction all seemed to come out of the woodwork when I don't need it. It did over $400. And the most recent one to sell was just 2 days prior to me editing this video, and it hit $577. Yes, it's a little bit better one, and it's a really nice condition, but $577. Now, even accounting for the fact the market's high and has moved up over the past few years, there's no reason for there to be a 60-something% increase in the cost of these coins. And these aren't even like the scarce varieties either. These are the ones that you can actually find. Having spotted that $550 sale around the time of my $405 purchase, I think several sales really influenced the market there, not just mine, but that other sale as well. And also a sale the prior year, which I also somehow missed, for $360. And now the market's actually taking them there. Collectors are paying these amounts of money at auction now for these tokens. But first, let it alphabet. Why am I having so much trouble? 2004 edition of Roulette. Common Mobile Jockey Clubs. I don't remember which one it was. In unk condition. $45, $40, $70, $65, $50, $65, $65, $42.50. It goes on and on and on. But then you get those scarce ones where it says like 300. But those are ones that are like actually scarce. Like only 4 struck. Or like $150 because there were only 15 of that particular variety struck. The silver ALA number 4. $500 in unk. It is a unique one, which is the only one that really should be outperforming, and it always has. My point is, none of those should have reached those prices, even in this market. I mean, 6 times in 20 years? They were almost overpriced in 2022, but the token market overall has experienced a little bit of a boom as well. So what's actually happening here? Are these coins actually worth that $400 to almost $600 price point now? I think this is a great example of scarcity in the market driving prices up. For a while, there weren't very many available at auction, and they really didn't have a lot of sales history. It didn't make the coins more scarce. It just meant the availability for people who wanted to obtain one was much more difficult. And then you had several sales, including my purchase, where the market went high. And without much other sales history, it set a benchmark for other collectors who were trying to buy ones when they did come to auction. But now they're coming to auction much more frequently. Now, when something becomes more available in the market, then you start to see prices usually drop. Not tank necessarily, but they'll come back down to more realistic levels. They seem to be buying up uncirculated examples at pretty substantial prices right now. And so the prices really haven't changed, and it doesn't seem to be coming down yet. Now, it's hard to say when or even if the market will correct on these. I highly doubt it's extremely long-term collectors that are pushing this boom, because most of them remember the days when they could buy a Mobile Jockey Club for $70 in uncirculated condition. And having friends who have been collecting this kind of stuff for a long time, a lot of them are saying they are just watching these go by in just amazement of how high they're going, and they're definitely not hitting that bid button. Now, don't get me wrong. Let's say you are in the market for a Mobile Jockey Club. Awesome, first of all, it's a great choice. And you just really want to pay for it. You really want it for your collection, and you're okay with paying the extra couple $100 knowing that the coin probably is overpriced. That's on you. I made that choice. I mean, I'm the one who made the mistake to begin with. Remember, this is my opinion on what the market's doing. This isn't necessarily what every collector is thinking. It seems high based on the historical trend, but this could be where the trend has led to. If I were in the market to start buying up a lot of these things, would I want to buy them at these prices? Not currently, because it has moved up significantly pretty quickly. But I don't know when the prices are going to change for these tokens, and I don't even know where they'll go from here. Because all we really know is what collectors were willing to bid them up to and what they're willing to bid them up to now. Regardless, my purchase, as well as a couple other ones, influenced a market that really just didn't come to auction for a while. If you want to learn more about the complexities of coin pricing, be sure to check out the series I've been doing on pricing coins. Subscribe and hit the notification button so you'll be notified when the new videos come out for that series.